Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the match preview for the big one, Tottenham versus Chelsea at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tomorrow afternoon. London derby, and a big opportunity for Chelsea to put some major distance between them and the rest of the chasing pack in terms of Champions League football. And an opportunity to potentially close the gap on Liverpool to 4 points with their Merseyside derby postponed today due to bad weather in the UK. Loads to get into. Is it going to be Caicedo at right back? Are we going to have Sancho or Madueke starting? Who's going to partner Levi Colwill? Lots to dive into. Delighted to be joined by Pys as always, brother. Thank you so much for coming. It's greatly appreciated. As we were saying before we come live, I know we've not played yet. It's been a pretty good weekend so far for us.
Yeah, no, it has been. It's almost going a little bit too good this season. I'm wondering where, the catch is going to be, what's going to happen to sort of stop it going so good. But I mean, all the results are going our way. I mean, even Man City drop points, we could be 4 ahead of them with a win tomorrow. You see Man United losing at home 3-2 to Forest. And, there's other teams that have dropped points as well. I think Arsenal got a difficult game tomorrow. Liverpool's game obviously gets called off. So I think tomorrow is an absolutely massive game for us. We have a good record against Tottenham, but we're going to need to defend well. And I think as long as we defend well, I think we'll have enough chances in attack to beat them.
No, I agree, bro. I mean, when you look at the table here, Kate, I'm not looking up. I'm always looking at the gap to 5th place, even if 5th Champions League, we're looking at the gap to 6th place. And like you look at the teams that you would expect us to be competing with, your likes of your Aston Villas and your Tottenhams and your Newcastles or whatever. If we were to win tomorrow, that moves us to 31 points, and that puts us 8 points ahead of Aston Villa. That puts us 11 points ahead of Tottenham and Newcastle. I mean, when you get into that point and you're 11 points ahead of 3 of what would have been described as the main contenders for Champions League football this season, that's a really good position to be in. I don't want to say it's a position that, is like unattainable for those teams to make up. But if we're 11 points ahead of those 3 teams, or 11 points ahead of Newcastle and Spurs and 8 ahead of Villa after 15 games, things are looking pretty good for that Champions League spot.
Yeah, no, 100% they are. I think we could be like 20 points ahead of top 4, and I still wouldn't be convinced.
Yeah, you'd still be worried, isn't it? You still think something might go wrong.
I mean, it's still very early in the season, but at the end of the day, I think, the next couple of months, I think is absolutely massive. We'll start getting a really clear picture of, where we're going to be at. But at the moment, as the thing is like whenever other teams are dropping points, we're actually capitalizing on that. Whereas with the previous seasons, other teams would drop points all the time, but then we'd drop points, if we played a day later, and it would just be like, well, there's a massive missed opportunity there. I think that sentence was probably said about 15 times, over the course of
every week. It was like a missed opportunity. Burnley away, Burnley at home 2-2, Sheffield United away, missed opportunity. But we are actually making the most of other teams slipping up at the moment. I mean, mate, we've lost 2 games from 14. I mean, I know we keep saying it, but can you quite believe how good this start has been?
I mean, no, I don't think, I expected us to be second. I think it was a very good possibility we'd be in the top 4 if things were, were going sort of clicking, because I think in pre-season, I just remember, I think the one thing we all said, I mean, we got battered a few times, but the one thing we all said was we were looking very good going forward. I mean, there was a clear structure from the very early games, even the training sessions that we were seeing, some of the stuff behind the scenes, it just felt a little bit different. It felt like we had a proper manager in charge, a tactical genius. As the season's actually kicked on into the Premier League, I think what we've seen is Maresca actually be very adaptable to games. He's come out with a quote, I think yesterday, talking about today, saying basically, Brighton was one game plan because they play a high line. And we were pressing, and then there's another game plan for Aston Villa because they drop deeper. And, it's like you can't go with the same game plan for different opponents. And I think the one thing about Maresca is everyone was like, well, he could be a good coach, but everything we was hearing, he just plays one way. It's going to get, we're going to struggle. He's not going to adapt. But I think he's been the complete opposite of that. I think he's adapted actually, loads, sometimes even too much at times with like Gusto as a 10 and stuff like that. So I'm very, very positive. I think that this was the best. Like, there was obviously 2 scenarios where I think we were going to be better in any case from last season, but not quite. Maybe we were fighting for top four all season. Then I think that the best scenario, which is what we're seeing right now, is you're really starting to see that the group come through, the talent. Everyone's really, emerging very well. They're playing well together. The rotation's nice. Everyone's happy. The fans are back on board, and the football we're playing is really sort of like I think with like the players have really adapted to the football very fast, and they've taken the system under their belts very quickly. And I think it's even surprised Maresca. He often says, "Look, we're ahead of my expectations. I didn't think we'd be so good on and off the ball, as we are early on in the season." But at the same time, I'm not entirely surprised because we have a lot of very talented players, and it's not just talent; it's technique as well. Technical
Yeah.
across our team. Like, are you really that surprised that they're doing well under a manager that prioritizes technical ability and build up play and stuff like this? I don't think we would be second, but I'm not all that surprised that we've had a good start to the season, because you just look at our squad and you think, okay, right, if we get the right manager, we could be cooking here, and we are cooking because
Yeah.
we've got the right manager.
But do you know what's mad, bro? I was having this conversation the other day. I think it was on the way home from the Southampton game, and like I remember at times under Pochettino and under Potter as well, bro. I was doubting the quality of the squad and the players. I'm thinking, like, are these guys actually as good as what the club made it out to be? Are these guys as good as what the recruitment and the numbers actually said? And then suddenly, like, you put a manager in place who has a structure, has a clear idea, who plays to the players' strengths, who seems to manage the players in a very good way. And you're suddenly looking at a squad that is actually very, very good and up there with one of the best in the league. But I was at times doubting myself because there was a lack of structure for these players and the tactics weren't there. And it was kind of just vibes and kind of pass to Palmer and hope for the best. And now you're actually seeing how good this squad is and how good the recruitment has been by just putting a manager in place who actually has a good structure and has tactics and understands the game and is making little subtle changes here and there. Even like the in-game management against Southampton, for example, first 15, 20 minutes, he wasn't happy with whatever it was, like the man-to-man pressing, calls, I think, 3 or 4 of the players over, tells them it's dealt with, and then we go again. I mean, the squad is really, really good. I mean, do you think the sporting directors, the ownership, the recruitment side of things, do they actually deserve not an apology as such, but they do deserve a lot of credit because the owners and stuff and the sporting directors have come in for a lot of criticism over the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, I think individual cases they do. I think, for example, like the striker situation, I think they've got, it looks like they got it spot on, because even the ones that were going to come in, like a Duran or a Omarodian, were, are hits. Let's be honest with you, they would have been hits here, I think. Looking back on it now and seeing what they're doing for their clubs and just seeing, how they're fitting in, how they could fit into our style. And I think I've always said with the sporting directors, I think they've put a very talented group together. I think I don't know. I think unlike you, I was always like behind majority of the players, especially like someone like Caicedo and stuff like that, because like especially under Poch with like the lack of midfield structures. Like I've seen Caicedo under De Zerbi, who is literally like a manager. He should like, this is different, right? This is not a De Zerbi. This is someone who's got a completely different style of play, if he even had one, And it was just like little things like that. I'm like, we need a manager. I did a tweet a few months ago where I named like 7 players and I was like, these guys with a good manager, like we will be there. And it's just like my main doubts for the sporting directors is one is like, is this group going to work in terms of, do we need more experience? Like, for example, I think when Thiago Silva left, not a massive fan of replacing him with Tosin, even though he's a bit older. It's not exactly the signing I would have gone for. For example, the goalkeeper, I still think they need to fix up, and I think they're kind of, protecting that a little bit too much for my liking. So I guess just the overall age of the squad. I don't know long term, like if we can win the Premier League or Champions League with this. But what I would say is just in terms of individual talent, scouting, you can't really doubt them, to be honest. I mean, they're very, very good. We've clearly got very good scouts as well. Certain deals I know that, could have been done better and faster in terms of negotiations. So there's also that, which has kind of annoyed me with both of them in certain senses. But overall, I think they've done a good job. I mean, they definitely have put a good team together, and we're starting to see kind of the fruits of that coming out on the pitch at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting going forward to see what we can achieve. And you know what? As much as I loved Abramovich, everyone did. He's the reason why pretty much all of us are Chelsea fans. and we've been so successful because of him. The one thing I can admit is that, you know, when we won the titles and stuff like that, we didn't necessarily build on it.
Yeah, exactly that.
Oftentimes we had very average to actually shit windows after
I
we
mean,
won.
do you remember after we won Champions League, bro? We signed Lukaku and Saul on loan.
That's so on loan. So I think now the big test, I'm not saying like we're going to win major things this season, but if we get to a point where with this squad we do win things, and I'm talking like domestic cups, Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, Europa Leagues, whatever it may be, like bigger trophies than we're up for this season. What do they do then? Do they just think, oh, our job's done, we've built the squad, that's it now? Or do they still get the checkbook out and do they still look to improve? And I think if they look to improve on the squad once we actually are succeeding and they don't rest back and think, well, our job's done now, then I think we can go very, very far. And I think that will tell me a lot about their mentality as well, and potentially make me back them even more, because I think as good as the squad's doing, you can always improve. You can always get better. You can always have better depth. So I think that'll be one of my major judgment points in the future with these guys as well.
No, mate, I absolutely hear you on that. But right now, everything's going in the right direction. It's kind of funny when you start doing well, you don't hear anything negative whatsoever. Nothing about Bowley and Egbali's falling out for months. Nothing about any players' price tags. Nothing about anyone being flops. Nothing about Maresca being potentially the first manager to leave. I mean, I'm sure these guys have got all their articles stored, waiting for a bad run of form to come, and they're just going to release them all. But mate, it's the first time I know it feels like ages. It's probably only been 2 years, right? But it feels like a long time because we're used to success. Bro, you go to games as well as I do, and I can't tell you apart from the football on the pitch, which has been great, the biggest thing that I admire about Maresca is just that the feel-good factors back around the club. Fans actually enjoy going to games again. The support is actually gone up, is really good. It's not been that bad at Stamford Bridge this season. The away support is always brilliant. And already now there's a connection between fans and manager, and it's taken 14 games. And I try not to get attached to managers or that sort of thing too quickly. But it's very hard to find yourself not getting attached to Maresca and like not liking what he's doing.
100%. I think it's really good as well with like, I agree with you, under the old ownership. I mean, you could say the same for this one, but like, let's be serious. You know, these guys, I mean, they fought absolute tooth and nail to keep Potter and both Pochettino, to be honest with you. Like, Pochettino could have been sacked in mid the season. And with Potter, I think they probably would have kept him if the fans didn't kick up so much of a fuss, to be honest with you.
I mean, in the end, it probably wouldn't have made much difference, really, if we'd kept him or not, because Lampard won one of them 10 games.
Yeah, so I think, you know, what you can say now is that, unlike Roman, I do think you can actually, like, you can build a connection with a manager, because if it goes well, I mean, Clearlake, Bowley, the sporting directors, they'll be very happy to keep him for, you know, forever, right? Like, they don't want to change managers. They've just they've got it wrong so far, so they've had to change the manager. But their vision is absolutely, you know, 5-10 years. They think long term, unlike the previous ownership. So from that point of view, you know, you can get attached to a manager. Yes, it's only 14 games, and yes, I hope that the crowd are still behind Maresca, even, you know, when we do hit a bad patch, because we're not going to be like this all season. I very much doubt. So I just think we've got to get behind him. You know, he's here now. He's on a 5-year contract. You can clearly see there's a sustainable way of playing, and not just that, like the man management. I think with him as well, you can tell he's a serious manager. Like I've been like blown away by like for example, after the last game, like when Madueke scores, what he says about Noni is like,
yeah,
no, we didn't play last game because I didn't like the way he was training. Like, he can do so much more. I think Palmer, when Palmer scored the 4 goals, he was saying kind of the same thing. He was like, yeah, but he could have had more goals. It's just like, for me, Maresca is just like, again, with the Southampton thing, another one where, you know, we called the players over because the press wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
He just seems like I mean, you can joke about the Pep assistant thing all you want, but he seems like a winner. He seems like someone that is on a relentless drive for perfection. He is not happy if we win 5-1. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
in a certain way, you know, obviously, like, he's happy, but you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't get too excited about any result, you know, like, it's just, we could win 4-0 tomorrow and he'd be like, yeah, but focus is on next week now. And you know, the fans will be like buzzing, but that's what you need from a manager. You don't need someone to get carried away, because then I think like the players will get carried away. And I think when you got Maresca there, it's kind of like that nice balance. I think he's kind of managing expectations a little bit, but I think it's really good what he's done so far.
Mate, and he picks the perfect time to do those things as well. You see other managers get that wrong. If you've just lost the game, not played well, they'll start calling players out. I wouldn't even call it calling players out. It's just wanting more from those players. And I think one thing that would say is that he's not saying anything in public that he's not said to these guys behind closed doors. They'll know full well, and like it's the right time to do it. Madueke back in the team, puts in a good performance. He was named man of the match, goal and assist against Southampton. Maresca not happy with his training levels, and you think that's not going to upset Madueke. He's had a good game, and he's going to think, right, I need to level up. Otherwise, there's someone else there to take my place, and that's where again the benefits of having this squad depth comes in. Because if Madueke doesn't fix up in training, he simply won't play. And I get the feeling, right, it wouldn't even matter if you'd scored 20 goals this season. If your attitude and your training level's not there, you won't play. Like, even if it's a massive game, let's say Nicholas Jackson, for example, this game against Tottenham tomorrow, let's say his training had been off in the week and Maresca wasn't happy with it, I can guarantee that he wouldn't pick him for this game tomorrow. And like, you might think that's at the detriment of the team, but actually that's what I really rate about him, is that it doesn't matter who you are or what game it is. If someone's not hitting the required standards that he set, they won't play.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I completely agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, let's throw it forward a little bit to this game, bro. We talked about this being a huge opportunity for us. You'd almost say this is the one thing missing from our season at the moment, is a win against the traditional Big Six team. Now, I know we've got a very good record against Tottenham, and it won't quite tick the same box as if we were beating an Arsenal, a Man City, or a Liverpool, for example. But we lost to City and Liverpool, and we drew to United and Arsenal. This would be an opportunity for us to beat a traditional Big Six team. We've got a very good record at the Spurs Stadium. I think from our 7 visits there, it's 5 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. I'm not worried about what we're going to do. I've just got a slight concern because I've got no idea what Tottenham's going to turn up. And that kind of worries me a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, mate. Honestly, Spurs, despite how poor they've been, they are capable of winning this game, which is concerning for me. And I just don't know what Tottenham's going to turn up.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Like, I don't think it's absolutely certain that we win tomorrow, but I think it, like, you're talking about a good Tottenham turning up. Well, a good Tottenham turning up means they're going to be full throat attacking us. And even in that sense, that just plays into our hands absolutely perfectly. Like, I think as long as we don't concede too early, I think even if they start attacking us, honestly, I think that actually plays into our hands better than if they were to sit back, to be honest with you, and kind of counter-attack us. So, like, one of the reasons why I'm so positive for tomorrow is that the way Ange plays, 1, he doesn't change. He's not adaptable like Maresca. 2, obviously, they've got fuckloads of injuries. 3, it's just like the way they play suits the way we win games. Like, if they want to go head-to-head with us and go a back-and-forth basketball game, we will outscore them. I have no doubts about that. Like, I truly think we'll outscore them. So, I don't want it to be like that. But if they want to make it like that, then I think we can play to that sort of. We can sort of. I just think everything, like, whatever way we sort of, like, whatever way the teams kind of play us at the moment, I feel like we're doing very well with it. Whether teams press us or they sit back. Villa was sitting back. We scored 3 goals, and it's just like everything's just going really well right now. And it's hard not to be, positive. To be honest with you, I just don't see how their defense, especially how it is, handles our attack. As long as we play like we have been, and we don't have an off day, I think we'll be completely fine, to be honest with you. But of course, they have some threats, and that's where, unfortunately for Fana, I think it's going to be a miss. But if we just got to defend well, Cole, Cucurella, if Caicedo has another fantastic game in midfield, he'll win the ball back and he'll start attacks. So I'm positive for tomorrow. Honestly, I really am.
No, bro, I hear you. I am as well. I am as well. You look at it and you think, right, there's no Vicario in goal. It's Fraser Forster. Okay, he's not terrible, but that's a significant drop off. There's the centre back pairing is likely to be Dragusin and Archie Gray. They might rush one of Romero or Van der Ven back potentially, but they won't be fully fit. So the centre-back pairing is not ideal. So you're looking at a situation where if Tottenham take the game to us, we've got the players of the quality, as you say, that we can pick apart that back line. And I think Spurs could have a very similar approach to what Brighton had when they come to Stamford Bridge, where obviously they play that high line, they leave a lot of space in behind. I mean, you've got Enzo Fernandez with that range of passing, just dropping balls over the top to whether it's a Sancho, a Madueke, a Neto, a Jackson running in behind. You know, if Spurs do that, it could be a long, long day for them. Plus, I know we're not amazing at set pieces, but Tottenham concede a lot of goals from set plays as well. So I look at it and I'm just thinking, I don't want to be overconfident, but I do find it very difficult if we turn up and play to our best level. I find it very difficult to see how we will not win this game, despite maybe Anthony Taylor being in charge. But again, like for me, yeah, okay, he's shit and he's fucked us over a few times. But ultimately, what we need to do is make sure that we do our job so that any poor decisions he makes, they kind of almost become irrelevant, as it were. But I mean, do you have any worries for this game? I mean, defensively? But by the way, just on our defense, I know we touched on it earlier, bro. We get a bad rap defensively, by the way. And I've said it at times this season as well. I'm looking at the table. We've got the third best defence in the league. Liverpool got the best. They've conceded 11. Then it's Arsenal on 14. And then we've conceded 15 goals, joint third best defence in the league with Spurs. Do you think we get an unfair rap defensively?
I think so. I mean, not in terms of like, I mean, overall, I think what I've always said, like so far this season, another reason why I'm very positive on Maresca is that if you just look at a lot of the goals we conceded, they're basically our own fault. Like,
most of them are Sanchez errors, aren't they? 3 or 4 of them.
You know what I mean? They're mostly our fault. Like maybe we lose the ball or whatever is. I don't know. Like I just don't think there's been too many games where we've been like, oh yeah, like we've been cooked there or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so they do have some threats. Obviously, Son on his day could turn up. He's not the same player anymore. But he's still a good player. I mean, Kulusevski is probably the main threat for me, I think.
Yeah.
You know, but again, he's up against Cucurella, who's just been absolutely outstanding for us. So as long as, I think you're right, as long as it's not about what Tottenham do, it's about what we do tomorrow. If we turn up, I don't think they beat us, even if they're really good, because if they're really good and we're really good, we're better. So I think we win, you know, like, so I don't know. Hopefully I'm not being too arrogant or overconfident. It doesn't come back to bite me, but I've just been like, a few games recently. I've been like, oh, I don't know if we can. Like, I've not thrown my neck out there and been really positive. Like even the Southampton one, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like everyone was like, we're gonna batter them, and I was like, I don't know about that. Like, you know, but we won 5-1, and it's like, right, should I actually start like believing a bit more now? You know,
mate, I had the same feeling, bro, going to the Villa game. Like I thought we'd win, but I thought it would be really close, and we could end up drawing. We beat them so comfortably. So I do agree with you. Like if we play our best and Tottenham play their best, then our best is better than their best. And I know football doesn't always work like that, but unless I don't see a scenario where Spurs turn up and they play us off the park. I think the only way they beat us is not them being good; it would be us being bad. And I don't want that to come across in like a bit of a sort of an overconfident way. But I do truly believe that Spurs don't have the quality to beat us with how we're playing right now. And if they do beat us, it will be down to us making mistakes or us playing into their hands rather than anything good that they've done. So I don't know. I look at it and I just think this is such a big opportunity, a chance to go 11 points ahead of Spurs and Newcastle, a chance to go 8 points ahead of Aston Villa, a chance to go 4 points ahead of Manchester City, and then go 4 points behind Liverpool. This is, would you put this game as in the must-win category, or is it must not lose?
I mean, for me, looking at the table, I guess you could say it's a must-win, just because how many points we'd be ahead of certain teams. I mean, especially if you're talking about top 4 races, you know, looking at, you know, like other teams, like you've just said, I think we'd be a lot of points ahead of them. I think we got a winnable game next weekend. Obviously, Brentford's going to be tough, but it's a winnable game. So I just think, I just fucking hope we win this game, mate. Honestly, it'll be so good. The vibes, like everything will just be like beautiful. Honestly, it will be so like, it'd be like that meme everyone uses with the sunflowers and the and the Rainbow Gardens, like it will just feel like, I don't know, like it will be on 31 points, like 4 points ahead of Man City. Are you mad? Like, I know they've been bad, but like, what are we even talking about? Like, this is the team that's dominated the league for the last 6 years. Like, it's just, what's going on,
Mate, it is actually mental. When you think about it, right? This time tomorrow, we could be 4 points ahead of Man City. And you're thinking, Chelsea ahead of Man City by 4 points in December. Nah, that universe doesn't exist. But here we are. We're doing a very, very good job. Everything's going our way at the moment. I've said this before, but part of me feels like everything's going just a little bit too well, and you're sort of almost waiting for something to go wrong.
It's like, where's the back down to? I don't know if it's back down to reality, but where's the sort of game where you're like, oh fuck, like that's put a stopgap in what on our confidence, like it does feel a bit like that. But I don't know, maybe this season's different, bro. Maybe it truly is different,
Yeah, I look at us, like we spoke about, when obviously we had that tough run of fixtures before the last international break when we played Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, and Man United, and we only won one of them 4 games. And you're thinking, right, okay, we only lost one as well. We got 5. I think we got 5 points from out of 12, which is not amazing. But what we had to do after the break was pick up, like, maximum points from the likes of Leicester, Villa, Southampton, and whatnot. And I'm really pleased with how the team's responded and how they've come back after the international break, after a difficult run of fixtures, and really hit the ground running. And we are playing some of our best football of the season. And this Spurs game is probably our most difficult game, really, until the end of January. I know Ipswich away could be quite difficult at the end of the year and whatnot, potentially, but I can't emphasize how big this opportunity is for us between now and kind of the middle of January. I don't want to say it's definitely going to get us top 4, but we could put ourselves in a position come the end of the year where it could be very difficult for us not to finish in the top 4.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's what you're saying. I mean, getting maximum points from those 3 games that you mentioned, last year, maybe you pick up 4 points or maybe even 3 points, so it definitely is different in that sense. I think the teams that, like, on paper, when you look at our squad, you think, yeah, we'll beat them. Like, but that hasn't happened the last 2 years, and now it's actually happening. And I think that's obviously really just credit to Maresca and the players, but more so Maresca, because let's be honest, we've not seen the best level from sort of any of these guys, really, apart from Palmer. So the fact that, like, now I was talking with Lawrence the other day on our podcast, I was like, who is actually our player of the season so far? I could name you like 6 or 7, and that just goes to show that how consistent and brilliant a lot of our players have been. So I think top 4 is still the aim for me. Get back into Champions League football and build from there. But why not aim higher? Like, why not aim for the stars, reach for the moon, whatever the sayings are? Like, let's just take it one game at a time, though. Let's not just sort of, like, for tomorrow. I'm definitely point checking the table, but for the last few games, I've just literally not even been looking at the table, because I'm like, let's just do one game at a time, and let's see after about 6, 7, 8 games what the table looks like. Almost, that's kind of been like my attitude, and looking at it now, it's looking really nice. So hopefully we can keep it up.
No, mate, I agree. Like, the take it game by game is what we have to do. I know people want to try and force Chelsea in a title race. They want to try and get Chelsea fans to say they're competing for the title. We know full well we're not competing for the title. But having said that, this season does have a bit of a feel about it, that there's for a team to go and do something totally unexpected. And maybe we could be that team. I'm not saying win the title, but with the way that City are looking right now, there's an opportunity for Chelsea. I think our limit this season would be second, but I don't see a reason why we couldn't potentially finish second or third this season, which would be above a lot of people's expectations. And there's an opportunity there for us to do something. And with the way that we're playing, I think the most exciting thing for me, bro, is that when you look at other teams, right, and you look at Liverpool and you look at Arsenal and you look at, like, Man City and whatnot, for me right now, those versions of those teams, there's not that much improvement for them. I mean, City, you know, they get back to their best level, there's quite a big improvement. But generally speaking, Arsenal and Liverpool, I don't think Arsenal and Liverpool, their current teams, can get that much better. But for us, our room for improvement is still pretty big. This team can still get so much better. And I'm looking at how we're playing right now. This is 5 months into Maresca. Imagine if we're like Arsenal. Imagine 5 years into Maresca. Like, what mate, do you get excited by the thought of how much better this team can actually get?
Yeah, 100%. And I always say this, but like the games I get most excited is when we're winning like 2 or 3-0, or it's like 3-1 or whatever. Like we're leading, and then he brings on like Neto and Sancho on from the bench, and it's just like, fucking hell, this is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? It's a bit naughty, that sort of like the depth we have sometimes when we're winning. It's just like, wow, like, you know, like the Bournemouth game where we won, right? It was just like things weren't going well, and we just brought on like 3 attackers that would start for most other clubs in the league, and they're just on our bench. And it's just like, that's where I think you have to give the sporting directors credit, because they really did get it right, it seems, this season with the sort of the squad size and the sort of the attacking talent. You know, I think it's just the attack's so exciting. Like every time we go forward, I think we're going to score, you know, and it's just like, whoever's playing as well, you know, it doesn't always have to be the same players. It's just like, whether it's Sancho on the wing, Neto on the wing, and you even looking at someone like Mudryk lately, who's, he's not getting chances, or he's been ill, but he's not getting many chances in the Premier League. But just look at him. Like, I feel like he's slowly changing a little bit as well from what we're seeing. I think he's improving a tad. So especially his end product lately, he scored 2 absolute bangers, and I'm just like, I imagine we could get the best out of him. It's just like the potential is endless. It's just the question is, does it happen? You know, does enough of them thrive to a point where we can also build that sort of team togetherness and that team unit as well? Because it's all good going forward, but you know, you need to be good off the ball and defensively as well, and control games when you're winning. And Maresca as well, he's basically saying, you know, we're not even at the point at the moment where like we're controlling games where I actually want to control games. You know, like it's almost like some of the games have been a bit sort of like Pochball-esque, where we're outscoring teams, but you know, once we get that sort of like control in terms of we go 2-0 up and teams just then can't score against us, that's when it really gets scary. Like when the team knows how to like manage a game truly, you know, and I think that comes with time as well. Not letting teams back into games and things like that. So it's just so many sides of it. I mean, even the recruitment, mate. I mean, Esteval. I mean, he's 17, but he looks
a joke.
He looks an absolute joke. Imagine when he's 20, 21. Like, it's just so exciting when you think about it. Andre Santos looks absolute quality. Yeah, Anselmino, I wouldn't be surprised if he's good. You got Kendry Payes. Like, you've got a transfer window there of young talent that are probably going to come and join us before you even get into the actual window. So
yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of positives when you think about it, for sure.
No, there are a lot of positives. And for me, mate, like this is the most positive, this is the most stable that we've been both on and off the pitch since the takeover. This is like the happiest I think we've been as fans, but this is the most stable that Chelsea have been. And it's nice not to really be talking about anything negative whatsoever, because right now there isn't actually anything negative to talk about in regards to Chelsea. You know, there's nothing negative about the owners, nothing negative about the directors, the players, the manager, the way that we're playing, the position in the table. Like, everything's great. And you know, it's been too long since we've last felt this way as fans. And do you know what? It needs to continue, and it makes such a big difference having that connection with the manager and the fans, the players. We've got such a likable group of players, mate. It wasn't that long ago that we were like a couple of seasons back when we had that squad of massive too many players, and you know, half the squad didn't even want to be here. We were playing terrible football. We're mid-table. Those days seem like a million miles away now, and it does really. I don't know how you feel, mate, but this season, I know there's a long way to go, so we don't know how it's going to finish, but it finally feels like after 2 and a bit years, this kind of project is finally getting started.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, I completely agree with you. I think the way they kind of like dug out basically and got rid of that whole squad in the 22-23, you know, and just when you actually think about it, how much rebuilding's actually been done to go in the direction that they want to go in. You can't fault the idea of it. It's just the execution, which, you know, they've got wrong on mainly the manager, to be honest with you. And I think when you're in those seasons like last season, you have an experienced manager like Pochettino. Obviously he was terrible, but like he is an experienced manager, and he can't seem to get a tune out of the team. And you're like, well, when are we going to get when's this manager, like, are they ever going to get a manager right? Like, are they going to fix this? Are they going to? You can't see beyond what's in the current moment, right? So when they appointed Maresca, you're like, okay, this is another massive risk. A lot of people wanted a proven, experienced coach, but at the end of the day, now we're in this period, we can see into the future now. That's the difference. Is like I can see us in 1 or 2 years time under Maresca. Like I couldn't see that under Poch. I couldn't see that under Potter. And that's the difference. It's like I used to hate the project talk, but now this really is a project. Like, you've got a good manager. You've got someone that, again, is modern. He plays in the way that, and this is why I think Man United and Amorim, I think it's the wrong choice, because the way he plays, right, he needs certain players. And I think Man United, they won't clear that squad out. I think they need a squad clear out.
Massively.
Whereas with us, for example, we've got the manager right now, it seems, but we've also already done all that squad clear out. So we've got to the point now where we've kind of put the pieces together, and hopefully we've kind of made the puzzle. Hopefully,
bro, they're pretty much 2 years behind us right now in terms of what they need to do. They need that squad clear out. They need to buy new players. They're a good couple of years behind where we were, and I think right now United are sort of where we were under Graham Potter, just with a squad, too many players, not too many, not good enough. But we've come through those times, and hopefully we can push on and really achieve something good this season. I mean, I guess in terms of, I know there was an article in the Telegraph the other week saying that Chelsea aren't really going to put any targets on kind of what's achievable this season until March. What are your thoughts on that? I think that's quite a smart idea, really. To be honest, take it game by game and then see where you're at in March, and then decide kind of what you think is doable. I mean, do you like that approach?
Yeah, because I think you think of like now till March next year. I mean, March for me of next year seems like a million miles away, and even then, that's still 2 months out from the season. So you still got 2 months left in April and May. So I mean, it's a good idea, I think, as well. Like, looking at our fixture list, we've got a really tough end to the season. So that's what I say. So much time, so many games until that period. So yeah, let's just take it game by game. Let's see where we are. We've still got another few months before we can really see what we can achieve this season. I did agree with that report, and to be honest with you, I feel like as well, like, all of these pundits saying, like, and just constantly question Maresca, are you in a title race? They almost want him to admit that they are,
Yeah.
It's like just,
and so then when we lose, they can then
and then they can fire on the other squad, and it's like, well, you told us you're in a title race. You know what I mean? Like, they're almost trying to bait Maresca almost, and let him, let him catch the bait or whatever, and then they'll go from there, and they'll do all their headlines when we hit a bad run or whatever, if we do. And that's what they're hoping for. That's what Gary Neville and all that are hoping for. They're waiting for Maresca to say, yeah, we're truly in it. So then they can come and shit on us when we drop form. That's what they always do. I will never take their compliments, nicely. Especially Carragher and Neville. I think they're absolute idiots.
They want compliments, really, isn't it?
Gary Neville's on there this morning, on BBC or NBC, wherever it was. I watched a video. He's like, Chelsea doing so well. We didn't expect this at a chaotic club. It's like, who told you it was chaotic? Like, maybe the fans did, but at the end of the day, the people that are in the club, they've had a very clear vision from day one. So they wouldn't tell you it's chaotic. Even from the outside, yes, it looked chaotic at sometimes. But, I mean, like, they say, like, our recruitment's chaotic, but every bit of recruitment is like, it's not like even like, I'm going to go back to Roman again. Like, when we used to buy, different profiles, like, everyone is like bought for a reason almost, you know what I mean? So
but we're buying players, but we're buying players now for a style of play rather than for a manager. So like, whereas before under Roman, when you'd have such a problem because you would have bought players for a certain manager, that manager lasts 12, 18 months, a new manager comes in, doesn't want any of those players, and you just end up with squads that are 2 or 3 different managers worth of players that simply just aren't really functionable. And now, God forbid if Maresca eventually moves on, whenever that is, hopefully not for a number of years, the next manager that comes in there shouldn't be any problems with the squad because the squad will be suited to, the way that manager plays. And that's the way that it should be. And and again, another thing that I'm pleased about is that we seem to be signing the right profiles rather than just going for names. And I took a bit of stick when I said that I actually think signing Liam Delap would suit Chelsea better than signing a Gyökeres. And people weren't understanding that, but it's for that exact reason, is that he fits the style and the way that we want to play, and he's a profile that we don't have in the squad. And I actually think that would be, in the long run, that is better. That would be better for Chelsea. So I think it's good that we're moving away from these big name signings now, and we're actually signing what would be deemed as lesser players, but players that actually suit the team better. And I think we're seeing it pay dividends now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always up for a big name signing if it does suit the squad. I think, if there was a big name signing and they went sort of for the lesser name signing just based on, nothing but apart from the money, then I would obviously be a little bit disappointed. But if it's for profile reasons and, for example, a big name target who I may want, they think, well, the other guy's a better profile, then fair enough, you know what I mean? But I do think the recruitment does deserve a lot of credit, and I have to hold my hands up. I didn't want Duran. I didn't want Samu.
Neither did I.
So they both look very, very good and would have probably helped us this season even more. So I just think with the striker one especially, I'm like, yeah, I mean, whoever they go for, is probably as a backup to Jackson now, because again, Jackson, I will, I don't have anything to apologise there. I've always been a massive fan of Jackson. So I do think whoever they go for now, when you're talking about transfers in the market, you just kind of have to step back for a second and not instantly tweet. You just kind of have to think, why are they going for that player? Because to be honest with you, they've had so many hits, when you think about it.
Mate, I was going to say, bro, when you actually look back at it, right, the amount of criticism there's been over signings, and then we actually look at the signings that they've made, and very few of them actually haven't been decent. You could maybe say Mudryk, we're not still fully sold on that one. But generally speaking, when you look at signings for the first team, most of them are good. Most of them have been a success, or most of them have made a contribution already. Caicedo, Enzo, Lavia, Jackson, Gusto, Fofana. There's a lot of good players that have been signed, and there's definitely more hits than misses. And at the end of the day, it's just basic maths, isn't it? In terms of that, we're signing a high volume of players. They're not all going to work out, but as long as more work out than don't work out, then I think we can be very happy with the recruitment that we're doing. Mate, I know this is slightly off topic, but just on January, there's a couple of things in the chat. Do you think Chelsea do anything in January? Do you think a centre back comes in January? Do you think we wait till the summer? I mean, for me personally, unless there's a really good deal to be done, which you can't really say no to, and it's a great opportunity, I'd almost rather we don't do anything in January.
Yeah, I think that'll be the case. I think in terms of, if there's an opportunity, maybe if, potentially there's a Disasi sale or something like that, then maybe we'll look to get that right centre-back in, because it seems like we want a right centre-back sort of like as a first option or as a backup to Fofana. I think also depends on Fofana's injury. How does he come back? How do the club think, okay, that's one injury now. Should we just get someone in just to sort of let's fast track it from the summer? I was watching David Ornstein's transfer podcast thing the other day, and it was interesting. He kind of gave insight into how clubs think, and he said a lot of the time with January, they're not actually if a club does a January transfer, they're actually not a January transfer that's probably meant to happen. It's a lot of the time it's someone from the summer transfer list that they've decided actually we need to bring that forward and try and do that for X, Y, and Z. Now
I've actually never thought about it like that.
It's interesting. You see, I mean, even you read in between the lines of what Fabrizio's saying, right? He keeps saying about Chelsea monitoring all these centre backs and stuff, and you're saying about Thomas Araujo and all that sort of thing, and it's he doesn't say whether it'll be January or the summer, and it's clear that we want to kind of do it in the summer, but if January, it has to happen in January for whatever reason they feel like we need it, then maybe we can bring that forward from the summer list. I think that's kind of how the clubs work. It's very interesting. So, I mean, it adds up. Remember when we obviously signed Enzo Fernandez? we needed that in January, right? Because, well, one, they briefed that it'd help us get top 4. I mean, that was funny. But two, it was like they wanted to do that now because it was a lot of competition in the summer, and they knew
we would have missed out in the summer if like Real Madrid and other big clubs were interested. We would have been fucked.
So a lot of the transfers that will happen in January if we do sign someone, it's probably someone that we look to. Well, we wanted to sign in the summer anyway, which is quite clever, and I guess it's just a way of planning. I guess it's what top clubs do, right? Their succession plan probably from the minute the summer ends. They're probably the next day they're thinking, right, they'll start the scouting process again and the formalised lists and stuff. It's just being proactive, and that's what top clubs do, and I think that's what we do as well. Clearly.
Yeah, mate, it's certainly looking good for us. By the way, guys, make sure you're smashing that like button. There's over 100 in the building. We're only on 60 likes. Let's get this up to 100 likes. People should be light work for that one. Please make sure you're hitting that like button. It's free, takes seconds, and it really helps out the channel, and it helps boost us in the YouTube algorithm. So yeah, make sure you're smashing that like button, and please do subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. So let's run the likes up. Someone let me know when we're on 100 likes in the chat. Should be pretty imminent. So yeah, please run those likes up. Mate, let's go through a little team for tomorrow. Are you disappointed? Obviously, Jorgensen played in midweek. We already confirmed that, Maresca already confirmed after the Southampton game it would be Sanchez. I have to be honest, bro, I was surprised that Jorgensen played in Southampton.
Yeah, I was as well. I in the back of my mind, I thought, well, Jorgensen must get a chance somewhere in the Premier League, but I just didn't expect it. I mean, like when he comes out after and says, "Well, Sanchez is starting versus Spurs," I'm like, I don't really understand what the club and I guess Maresca are doing with Jorgensen, because it kind of goes against the model. Like, isn't he the young goalkeeper that you want to make mistakes and see through the process and make him the number one rather than the older guy on higher wages? I don't really get it, to be honest, what they see in Sanchez, but. Yeah,
it's interesting though, bro, because obviously there's like a lot of fixtures coming up now. Does that mean that next time we play, say, weekend, midweek, weekend, does that mean that Jorgensen's going to play the midweek game? Because it would be very odd just to do it for one game and then not do it again, and then not do it again during the festive period. So, I mean, do you think that's maybe something we're going to see going forward when we've got a busy run of fixtures? That he plays midweek when it's weekend, midweek, weekend. I mean, I don't really know. I just thought I'm glad that he got an opportunity, but I just thought it was a bit strange.
I think it's almost pointless though, because whenever he does really well, he doesn't start anyway. So he's just back to Sanchez the next game. So what was the point of them saves against Southampton? I don't get it, because he doesn't get rewarded now against Spurs. I don't really. That's what I don't understand about it. I'm not a massive fan of doing that whole changing goalkeepers around. I think you have your number one and you kind of stick with it from there. But I just think Sanchez, like whenever he makes mistakes, he doesn't get dropped. But no. I mean, if Jorgensen made a mistake against Spurs, we might not see him again this season. So it's just like, you know what I mean?
Bro. I hear you. It is a strange one, bro. It is a strange one. I can't lie. But I mean, I guess most of the team picks itself, but I think this is where we've got some big decisions to make. Obviously, Levi Colwell's going to play. We know that. Who do you think partners him? Because I have to be real, I was very surprised that Badiashile didn't play against Southampton. I thought he would definitely play to just to keep him match sharp, but obviously not. He played Tosin and Disasi. I think we can safely say that Disasi won't feature in this game. Bro, what would your preference be? Colwell or Tosin? Sorry, Badiashile or Tosin? Because for me, it would be Badiashile, but part of me also wouldn't be surprised if Tosin played.
I'd probably go with Tosin, actually.
Would you?
Yeah, I think I've been really impressed with his character, and I think for this type of game, like a London derby, I think he'll be really, really up for it. Ex-Fulham player as well. I think on the ball as well, I really like Tosin. I think, again, you're talking about set pieces. I think we might need that height in there for attacking them. I know Badiashile's done all right lately, but I probably do feel a bit safer with Tosin, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
do you know what, right? If he does go Tosin, it just makes it all a bit weirder that he went with Badiashile over Tosin against Leicester, and then he went and then he went with obviously Badiashile coming off the bench against Villa as well. It's like I don't know. I mean,
I think one thing we know about Maresca though, like whoever he chooses is going to be very particular, whether that be of a certain attacker he thinks he can sort of like he'll
that game in mind, isn't it? It's very much almost a game by game basis. Yeah,
whatever centre back he'll pick, he'll know like it'll be for a reason, whether it's targeting a certain area, a certain player, you know, whether he thinks that certain player, for example, Tosin can get the better of whoever over, you know, whoever, you know what I mean? Like it'll be for a reason. But I don't think we need to think too much into the sort of why Badiashile played 2 games. He might just think Badiashile suited them 2 games better. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting though, because Fofana's a big miss, you know, and it leaves question marks. It leaves question marks over who's going to play, and that's why I say for me, I'd love to get a centre back in January, because I think Fofana, I mean, God bless him. I mean, I think he's great, but he kind of is like a Reece James in terms of you can't really rely on him. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't pick up at least 2 more injuries for the end of the season where he's out for a few weeks. And in that case, I just think if we could get that bit of quality in where we don't have to be like, oh, who plays now if Fofana's injured? You know, I think that'd be much better for us. So,
bro, do you think we missed? I think this goes back. I think we missed the trick in the summer, not bringing in a quality centre back. I'm not saying we didn't try to, or maybe I don't know whether we did or not. But I think we're seeing now, with as good as Fofana is, we're at a stage where we still can't rely on him to be fit for the majority of a season. And I just think we maybe did miss a trick. Instead of, I know Tosin was an opportunity, you can make a profit on him or whatever, but I just think we missed the trick. Instead of signing Tosin, we should have gone for a top quality centre back, so that when Fofana's not available, it's not that big of an issue. I'm not saying it's a big issue if Badiashile plays, but I wouldn't feel comfortable with Fofana being out for a long stretch and having to play Tosin or Badiashile on a really regular basis. Look, I actually like Badiashile and think there's a bit of a redemption arc there for him. But I just think for exact reasons like this, we missed the trick not getting a better centre back in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you lose Thiago Silva, you know, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Right, let's right. I would have gone Badiashile, but you're the guest, bro, so we'll go Tosin. But again, I actually couldn't really call it, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if it was either of them. Because, bro, imagine if he throws a curveball and just puts the Sassy in.
I would. I'd be scared.
The thing is, though, like I'd be mad, but then I'd almost trust him, Maresca, because of what he's done so far. You'd almost feel like, all right, fair. You wouldn't really like think too much about it. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, Cucurella is going to play. Bro, just briefly on him, I cannot believe this guy's redemption arc. It's honestly mental. I knew he was a good player at Brighton. There's a reason why Pep and Man City wanted him. We obviously paid a little bit, probably over the odds, but now it's not looking like we did. But I mean, bro, can you quite believe this guy's turnaround at Chelsea? You know, he's a fan favourite. His song gets chanted every single game. He's putting in top level performance. He's probably the best left back in the league, one of the best in the world. And from the player that was booed in his first season at the club and was okay last season until the last 6 games when he really come alive, I can't believe this is the same player.
I think Cucurella is just like a really, really, really good, exceptional system player. So I think if you have the right system for Cucurella, I think he absolutely cooks. And I identified him as one under Maresca. I was like, he's just going to be so good because technically he can play so many roles. He can play left centre back in a free, can then go left back off the ball, which is what he does for us. He can invert, you know, like he can even bloody play the position he did the other week, you know, when he was sort of was like a left mid, because he used to be a left mid for Getafe before he was a left back. So he is just so positionally versatile. And when you get him in the right system, that's when you really see him thriving. So yeah, I think technically he just suits the way we want to play so much. And to be honest with you, though, like it's not just all about system. I think he's like defending. 1v1 defending has got so much better.
I'm going to say, mate, he's defensively a lot better. And do you know what as well, right? Everyone thought, like, oh, he's great when he inverts, but Maresca's also played just a flat back 4 and no one's inverted at times, or it's been the right back that's inverting. Just as a traditional left back, he's been great as well. And I think the biggest thing, as you touch on, bro, is that his defending has got so much better. Like, you know, in his first season or whatever, even at times last season, early on, the thought of Cucurella against Bukayo Saka or something would have been a bit worrying. But now, like, I'm seriously not bothered about who goes up against Cucurella, because I know that this guy is not gonna let us down, and I just can't believe how good he's been for us. But yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, it's his intensity as well. Like I've not seen a fullback with like this guy's intensity. I mean, the way he presses, like the way he gets touch tight to opponents, like you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of like if Pedro was talking about like the old Pedro, you know, the Pedro Rodriguez, not Neto. If Pedro was a left back, that would be Cucurella. Like he's just always at your ankles, and he's always pressing. He's always like, you know what I mean? He just must be a bloody nightmare to play against because he doesn't give you time to breathe. And Pedro was like that as a winger with the way he pressed, and he just used to, you know, take defenders into the corner. He's just that little kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to call him a ratty player, but you know what I mean. Like,
but he's got that.
He's like a little spaniel, isn't he? He's just Russell, just at your ankles, isn't he, all the time? Like
he's always there.
Nightmare to play against. Yeah, he's just constantly on you. He doesn't give you, and that's why he does so well against Saka, because he don't let Saka turn. He don't let Saka cut inside. He's just constantly on him, and I think just in general, that's why he's such a good fullback, because his engine is just mad. Like, how does he press that much? I don't get it.
He's one of them players, right, that you love to have on your team, but you'd hate to play against him.
Exactly.
You'd be an absolute nightmare to play against. This is where there's another decision to make at right back. Now, I didn't really think I'd be saying this. If like Reece James is out, I'd be always saying Malo Gusto every time. We saw Caicedo play inverted right back against Aston Villa. It was brilliant. Part of me feels for this game we could maybe see it again, because he might want to get Lavia in there as well. What are your thoughts on this, bro? Do you think, would you like to see, and do you think we'd see the Caicedo at right back again, and we see Lavia and Enzo in midfield?
I think he's going to play all three. Yeah, I think he will in a big game like this. I would definitely I'd definitely do it. I don't.
You would do it as well, would you?
Yeah, I would invert him into midfield. Yeah, and I'd have him and Lavia as the midfielders, holding or whatever in the pivot. Yeah.
Do you think that's harsh on Gusto, or do you think this is just a
no? I don't think Gusto. I mean, I don't think Gusto's been great in big games, and I think especially in this role, I think I'd rather have Caicedo. I think for me right now, I think you kind of have to have all three of them midfielders playing, because Enzo's form is so good, and I do think you need that kind of physicality of Caicedo and Lavia deeper, because they've got Bissouma, they've got Pape Sarr, Bentancur, Maddison at times. Like they've got a pretty strong mid, and Bissouma. They've got legs in midfield, so I think you need both Caicedo and Lavia in there as well. I mean, look, Lavia for me has to play, because I mean, come on, Spurs, like press us, right? Because Lavia, he's just going to turn you, and we're going. I can already picture, right? Maddison high pressing, Lavia beats Maddison, deep, like sort of deep in our area, and then all of a sudden, Spurs shape, they just get kind of, the shape gets split. They go wide, then we play it out wide, and we're just constantly, 4v4s at their defence, and I can just see already the opportunities for us going forward, and I think, when Lavia plays, he opens up them opportunities, because he kind of just baits people in, and then all of a sudden he would just, kind of like how Kovacic used to be for it's like, oh, we're going to get the ball. Oh, no, I'm gone, bye-bye sort of thing. It's just, he's so press resistant. So I think Lavia has to play.
No, I agree as well, mate. Particularly in that first phase of play, he's so good when he receives the ball, turns, sets the attacks going. Obviously Enzo Fernandez will play as well. I agree with you, mate. I think all three will play. Just quickly on Enzo, by the way. Playing the best football of his Chelsea career these last 3 or 4 games. I think he's got 5 GNA in his last 4 games. I think it's 3 assists, 2 goals in the Premier League. This is the player that we signed. This is the quality that we knew was always there. For me, I think the biggest thing is he actually looks properly fit for the first time in ages. He actually is getting round the pitch. I've even said it myself at times last season, and even at the beginning of this season. Is this guy athletic enough to get round the pitch in the Premier League? I just think now is the first time really that he's been fully fit in quite a long time, and we're really reaping the benefits. And arguably, Maresca taking him out of the team when he did, that could have been the best thing for him.
Yeah, no, 100%. I said that as well. It's not always a bad thing to drop players. It can kind of give them that added motivation and make them feel like their spot isn't secure. So I think we've had that at times. So yeah, I think Enzo's been great, and like you said, he's getting the numbers. Like his numbers are really really good, and you know what I mean. Like I'm not a fan. I don't know if I'll ever be a fan of him playing sort of this far forward. But at the end of the day, Maresca's been sort of coaching him to get in the box more. I mean, if he can, like the finish against Aston Villa was
Oh, it's
fantastic.
class. Yeah.
I didn't think he had that in him for us, at least. you know. So I mean, if he can arrive in the box and make nice passes and actually score some goals, I think he'll be a really good player for us.
Yeah, no, bro, I absolutely hear it. And long may that continue. Obviously, it's going to be Cole Palmer in that number 10 slot. Just briefly on Joao Felix, by the way. I think we can probably, I think, you know, I have to be honest, he's done really well the last couple of games. And I think, oh, not Felix, sorry. I think he finds himself in a position where he's probably not a B team player, but he's not quite an A team player. He's like in the middle. He's done really well against Southampton. I thought he'd done well against Leicester as well. Should have scored against Southampton at least one goal. I think that's a little bit disappointing in terms of the end products, but I don't see him starting this game. I don't think Maresca fully trusts him for a big game just yet. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'd love to see what we did against Southampton the other day, but in just terms of going all out attack with Felix and Palmer, but I think he'll play it a little bit safer and kind of play Enzo, Lavia, and Caicedo, and Felix will drop to the bench. But I think he's been really good for us, to be honest with you. He's not gonna. I don't think he's ever gonna have the end product, but some of the. I mean, in terms of like finishing, I mean, because people used to like hate on his passing, his decision making. I think his passing decision making has been really, really good for us. I mean, the ball he played to Palmer the other day.
Oh, mate,
when when he played for us before, he'd have his head down there and still be dribbling. So I'm obviously a massive fan of Felix. Called for him back in the summer. I mean, took absolute pelters, and then somehow it happened, and I was like, "What have I just manifested here?" So I can't quite believe he's at Chelsea. To be honest, like he's always been one of my favourite players that never that wasn't playing for Chelsea. So the fact that he's now permanently here and he's hopefully finding his home. I mean, again, it's kind of like Jadon Sancho, right? It's like these two players. I mean, you forget how highly rated they were. Like their natural ability is off the charts. It's just can you get it out of them consistently? And I think so far, I mean, Sancho and Felix, they've both been pretty consistent, to be honest with you. So again, that's another scary time. I mean, if we get a consistent Joao Felix and a consistent Jadon Sancho, I mean, fucking hell, like
it's looking good, isn't it?
Crazy because they might not even start all the games. So just
bro, I hear you on that. I mean, just briefly on Palmer before we do the front three. How is obviously I think he's been pretty good all season. Yes, there were 3 games where he didn't get any GNA. Yes, he didn't have a particularly good game against United. Wasn't great against Arsenal or whatever. Yeah, okay, we hear it. Now he's back. Now 2 goals in his last 2 games. He's got a couple of assists as well. I think in them last 2, or at least 1 assist. How important is it for him to contribute in terms of GNA tomorrow to try and shake this narrative that seems to be forming that he doesn't turn up in big games, which I don't believe in? But do you think it's important that he has a really good game tomorrow, given that he was quiet against Liverpool, quiet against United, quiet against Arsenal?
That's what I think. I think those games on TV against the Arsenal, United, and Liverpool kind of shaped that narrative. And because he's been so good, I mean, rival fans are just finding anything to hate on him. They're starting this narrative. I mean, I think it's important though tomorrow that Palmer does kind of, pick the right passes. Like even if he doesn't get a GA, like he can definitely start moves, that lead to goals. If he picks the right passes and hopefully has his shooting boots on, then I think we'll be fine, to be honest. I don't see, like, that's the thing with their midfielders as well. It's like if Ange tries to mark Palmer, their midfield, they're just so dirty. Like I feel like they'll end up being on a yellow after 10 minutes, and then their kind of game plan will go out the window. So it's an important game for him though, because like you said, I mean, you can't hide from the fact that in the big games this season he hasn't been, sort of very, noticeable. I mean, the Liverpool one especially, I think was a bit disappointing because he did have a couple of chances. I think he would have scored them in other games, but I don't think there's too much in it, to be honest. This whole narrative. I mean, I saw a stat the other day. I think he's only like not scored or assisted against 3 Premier League teams, and like one of them's like Brentford. The only big club is Liverpool, and I think the other one's Ipswich. So obviously, though, the rival fans will tell you that penalties don't count. So
of course, I forgot that penalties when you score a penalty, the scoreboard doesn't actually go up by 1. Yeah, no, it's funny that.
And it's not like apparently there's no pressure in big game penalties. I mean, it's probably the most pressure you can have. A penalty in a big game is so pressurizing.
No, it is.
It's huge having a penalty.
It is mental. Guys, we're 20 likes away from 100 likes. Let's get there quickly as possible. Smash that like button, guys. Run it up. And subscribe if you're new around here as well. Front three, bro. We obviously know that Jackson's going to play for the middle. The wingers, there is a choice to make because we know that Jackson will obviously play for the middle. We know that Pedro Neto's going to play, but what side he plays on is going to depend whether he picks Madueke or whether it's Madueke or Sancho. Now, Madueke had a really good game in the week. Sancho played well as well. He's played well in the last few games. Started against Villa, started against Heidenheim, scored against Southampton when he came off the bench. Who gets the nod in this one? Do you think he goes Madueke? Do you think he goes Sancho? I would like to see Sancho play, but I think in this game away from home, I think he'll go Madueke because his defensive work rate is better than Sancho's.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult. I would probably go with Madueke and Neto.
Yeah.
I think I even thought the other day about a Mudryk, to be honest with you.
But he's still ill, I think.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, but with their high line, I think, if he was available, maybe I would have even started him and probably, Mudryk and Neto, I think would have been quite something against Spurs' defence. But I think Madueke probably starts, especially after the goal the other day. I think as long as Maresca isn't convinced he's getting complacent, then I think he'll start. And Neto, I think, will start as well. I think it could be a good game plan as well, because I could see a scenario where it goes well, we're 2 goals up or something. And then I think Sancho is also a good sub in terms of ball retention. He's good at keeping the ball. He's good at, winning fouls. I think he's been really good for us. I'm a massive fan of Sancho. Again, absolute pelters, because I randomly tweeted without knowing anything on one day in summer. I was like, unpopular opinion, but if we want a left wing this summer, I'd go for Sancho. Another Joe Shields involvement, maybe. And I think the tweet got about 1,000 comments calling me an absolute idiot. And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah.
He's been pretty good, and most Chelsea fans really like him. So
no, mate, he has been good. But mate, do you think? I think this could be a game a little bit like Liverpool away, where maybe Maresca learns from starting Sancho in that game. Maybe for a game like this, he might actually be better coming off the bench. And just to give you something different outlet, holding onto the ball and whatnot. So we're going to go Neto left, Madueke on the right. I think this is an important game for Madueke, to respond after them comments from Maresca after the Southampton game. None he's done. I know his performance has dropped off in recent weeks. He's still got 5 goals from 13 Premier League games he's played. 5 from 13 is not a bad return from a wide player. Just over 1 in 2. I mean, do you think we need to see more from him still?
Oh, 100%. I think he's got levels that he can go up. I think his creativity has been good, though, in recent weeks. I think he's put some really good crosses into the box. I can never not rate Madueke, because he's kind of the type of winger that I like. I mean, especially when I'm at games, watching him live is really, really good, to be honest. It's
exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. He just doesn't stop going at the fullback. So I think tomorrow that could be absolutely massive as well. I mean, looking at Spurs' defence, I think a lot of their fans are actually very unhappy with Udogie this season. I think he was good last year, but a lot of their fans call him absolute rubbish this season. So if Madueke can get at him, I think that'll be nice. But it's a massive game for him, because the one thing I am slightly scared of is, I do agree with Maresca. As soon as he scores a goal, he's like, I don't know. I'm too happy now. You know what I mean?
That's me done.
He doesn't build on it, and he still he still does his thing, but he just.
I'll be honest, Brett. Against Southampton, he should have had a hat trick.
Yeah. So I hope he has confidence, and I hope that he gets a GA against Spurs. I think it'd be nice. It was a great finish against Southampton, and he can do that. I do think, though, I mean, his end product is so frustrating. I mean,
Yeah.
people talk about Felix's, but Madueke missed four big chances against Southampton. 4. I mean, that's ridiculous.
There's
So
a lot of miss. I mean, luckily it didn't matter in the end, but do you know what I mean? Like,
you don't want that tomorrow. You know what I mean? You don't
well,
want
exactly.
chances dropping for him and him missing them. So that's the only thing for me is yes, he's exciting, but can I trust him in a big game? I'm not sure. So
No,
yeah.
bro, I hear you on that. And just lastly, mate, a quick word on Jackson. Didn't play at all in the week. I mean, I saw it back on the TV because I was there, so I didn't see it at the time. But I think it cut to him on the bench when the goals were going in, and he looked a little bit pissed that he was missing out because it was almost like a little bit of a stat pad session.
He kept looking at the bench, and Maresca is almost like, "Are you going to bring me on then?" Or like,
but that's what you want though, because that's going to make him hungry. I mean, what are you expecting from him in this game? The hat trick we got there last season. Do you think this is a game that will suit Jackson?
Oh yeah, I think Jackson's probably like. I mean, Archie Gray is a great midfielder, but an 18-year-old at centre back. I mean, that's wild. I mean, Dragusin is. I don't know. Don't think he's great either. So I think Jackson could have an absolute field day tomorrow. To be honest with you, if he gets in the right positions, again, you know, talking about the way we play and dropping deep on the halfway line. If he can, you know, like those games where he spins players 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
halfway line. Oh mate, it's so over for them. If Jackson does that and we play Madueke and Neto and they're running, it's over for them. They're not going to stop us. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Jackson, hopefully, he's at his best technically, and he just takes their players out of the game. And to be fair to him, arriving in the box, I mean, I didn't expect him to score that goal against Aston Villa. To be honest with you,
No, I didn't either.
I was very impressed. I was like, actually, he's getting that more striker instinct there. So yeah, massive fan of Jackson. 8 goals already in the Premier League. I mean, what more do you want, really? I mean, he was already the thing is he's such a complete player technically. It's just his finishing. I think is improving now. So fingers crossed tomorrow he grabs himself another goal or 2. That'd be really nice. So I think he could definitely. It's definitely the game where I could foresee that happening if certain things go right.
Mate, if he does back-to-back hat tricks at Tottenham, I mean, it would be incredible. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, mate, I think there's a pretty good chance of that being the team. You might see Badiashile instead of Tosin, and maybe you see Gusto at right back. But other than that, I think that is what the team will be. Anyway, guys, get your score predictions in the chat quickly. Pys, round out, bro. Score prediction for tomorrow. I know we're both feeling confident. How many goals do you think we can get?
I reckon 3-1 Chelsea. And I think Tottenham will score first.
I wouldn't be surprised if we went behind either. I'll be honest.
I think we'll win 3-1. I think they'll crowd will get up, and then I think they'll play into our hands, and we'll win. It's so hard to tell though in terms of like how many goals we could score at the moment, because honestly, like we could have scored 15 against Southampton.
Mate, so many.
You know, it might sound crazy saying we could win, you know, 4 or 5-1 tomorrow. We really could if we were on it, you know. So it's kind of mad. I just loving our attack at the moment, watching us play, the combinations, the passing. It's just brilliant.
We're free scoring, you know. We're top scorers in the league right now. As you said earlier, every time we go forward, it looks like we're going to score. We've got some 3-1s, 4-1s. We've got a 1-1 draw in the chat, 3-1. Mate, I was going to say 3-1, but I might even throw a 4-1 out there. Fuck it. Let's go for a 4-1, a repeat of last season. I do think we'll comfortably win this game. Hopefully, no one's going to clip this and it comes back to bite me in the arse if we somehow lose. But it's the game's the game. Yeah, guys, we're going to round it out here. Smash that like button, people. We're still 10 likes short of the 100. So on the way out, let's get to that. Smash the likes, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Pys, a big thank you as always, bro. It's greatly appreciated. I mean, everyone should know what you do and where you're at. But if they don't, for whatever reason, let them know.
Yeah, I did see someone in the comments asking me to start my own channel.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a channel? Yeah. No, not on YouTube, but you do elsewhere. Let them know.
Yeah, so if you go to Watch Playback, you can either download the app called Playback, little red emoji. It's basically another streaming platform. Or type in Watch Playback on Google. You can search up Chelsea Central, and that's my channel with Con CFC from Twitter as well, another sort of Chelsea account. And we'll be live there tomorrow before the game and after the game, sort of, I don't know, just screen sharing bits and bobs and talking about the game and just general Chelsea stuff. So yeah, if you want to listen to me waffle, then come and join us over there.
Yeah, guys, make sure you do that. Yeah, as always, at CFC Pys on Twitter. All that will be linked in the description, guys. Oh, your podcast as well, bro. What's that called again?
Yeah, Chelsea Unfiltered, Spotify, Apple. So yeah, we do that every single Tuesday. I think we're releasing it Monday evening UK time this week. So we'll be reviewing the Spurs game, which is happening tomorrow, of course, and then talking about the Southampton game and any other bits. So,
and the big one against Astana. Preview that as well.
I don't know. Maybe who we should send up there. Caballero coach, give Maresca a rest.
Yeah. No, I hear it. Yeah, guys, make sure you check all that stuff out. Loads of great content. All be linked in the description. Go and show it some love. As I said, run the likes up on your way out. People, subscribe to the channel. I'll be at the game tomorrow. Match vlog will drop after the game, and then we'll be live later on tomorrow night with the match reaction phone-in show. So make sure you stay tuned in for that one. And yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good Sunday. Love as always for the support, and we're out of here.